In today's video, we're going to be installing MST's relocated intake on my F10 N55.
Hey, this is Bryan. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and check us out at KiesMotorsports.com. Blaise over here got a new car. And Blaise, what did you get?
I got an F10 535.
That's right. He got a 2011 N55 535i. And today, Blaise is getting his first official mod. Now, Blaise, when I take a look at the intake over here, I see a little silicone elbow piece. I see this coupler in an intake with a heat shield and some other accessories. But when I look over here, your intake system is drastically larger. You want to tell me what's going on here?
So BMW thought it was a really good idea to take the air from this side, run it up into the air box through a filter, which isn't a bad idea, then run it behind the motor, down underneath to get into the turbo. But what MST did, they decided, let's rip all of this out and relocate it to this big hole right here. So it goes behind the headlight to shorten the piping, which will provide more direct airflow and unlock additional power and enhance the way the car sounds.
Now, as many of you know, we run MST intakes on most of our personal cars because they're made well, they look great, and they sound amazing. And I'm sure that Blaise's car is going to sound amazing as well. But as we always do, what we want to do is we're going to have Blaise jump in and rev the car so you can hear what it sounds like stock. And then once we're done the install, we'll give it some revs and you can hear that MST intake. All right, so as you just heard, it sounds like a stock engine. It doesn't have anything really special about it, but in a couple minutes, it certainly will. So let's get started with the install.
So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna wanna pull this clip off of this hose here. Just like that, you just pull up on this corner and push down on this part, and it should just clip right off. And then you can just pop the engine cover right off. So if you look here, we do have the two holes for the grommets, and you got two grommets right here. Mine was a little funky from whoever owned it before, so it came off a little easier, but what you'll want to do is you'll want to pop both of these off, and then you have these two slots for these two pieces here. That'll just slide right on out. So since we're going to be working in this area of the engine bay, we're just going to get this strut brace out of the way to make it a little bit easier. We're using a 16 mil to get that off. And same thing up here. We'll just pull this out of the way.
Next part of the process is we need to remove this intake piping here to make way for the MST. So Blaise is going to start by unclipping the mass airflow sensor over here.
So you're going to take a flathead screwdriver, and there's a clip running along the back end here that you're just going to be able to pop on out. And it slides right off, just like that.
So right there is the little clip that Blaise was talking about. Sometimes as the car starts to age, the little lever system in the back doesn't work as well. So it works better if you just take a flathead screwdriver and just pry it from the front.
So once you're done with the mass airflow sensor, you're going to want to get this PCV clip off. You can just use either a pick tool or a flathead like we're using to pry up this little flap here, and it'll slide right on out. Then once you get that off, you're going to want to get this PCV hose off of there too. So the trick is to kind of lift it up a little bit and pull. Oh. So that way it doesn't reconnect like that. And you're going to want to just work your way around. And then there's one in the back. You want to just ever so gently kind of pull this off. And then once you've gotten that off, you're going to want to take this clip off here. So what you do is you see these little ridged edges. There's one on both sides. You want to squeeze both of those, and it should just pop right off. There it goes. So to keep on going here, you're going to have to take this 10 mil off. And then you're going to want to get these 3 clamps off of here so that you can pop this pipe off. So normally you can get these off with a flathead, but this one down here is kind of in a difficult spot to get a flathead in, so we're going to use a 6mm. That one's nice and loose. And then you can take a flathead to get these ones up top here. And once you've done that, you can just very gently pull this pipe out. You're going to want to start from up here so that way you don't risk cracking this guy. And you just want to be very gentle so you don't break anything. And just like that, comes right off. And then you can pull this guy off. It looks like there's a grommet back here, so you might have to pull it off there first. Yep. And it just slides right off. So we're gonna remove this whole airbox thing. It really is useless at this point if you're gonna be installing this MST relocation intake. You can leave it in there if you want to, but for our purposes, we're just gonna pull it off. There's these 3 hoses here. They're just held on, they're not screwed on or anything. So they'll just pop off. There we go. And then this should just come right up. Grab it there. Oh. Grab it back there. And that guy just slides right off of there. Should just be good to pull right on out now. And there you go. So next, what you're gonna wanna do is take this mass airflow sensor out of your stock piece. You do not want to reuse the OEM bolts that are used here. MST conveniently provides some new bolts for you to use, which are these silver guys here. Like that. And then it's gonna go into this pipe here. This will only go in one direction. You have this little ring here, so you're gonna want the mass airflow sensor facing the opposite way, because your filter is gonna go in this side. So you just pop it in, line it with the holes, and then take the new MST screws and get them on there. Just nice and snug. So you don't have to worry about it wiggling around or anything. There you go. So now we're gonna take out the PCV pipe. You just wanna take these screws off here so you can get this whole bracket off. There it goes.
All right, so now with your PCV, it's extremely brittle, as you can see. What we're gonna do, we're not going to be reusing that, so don't worry. MST provides this nice little silicone one. What we found is best is if you take a heat gun and you heat this up. Sometimes you can get it and you can just pop it off, and then other times you just take a knife and then just gently trim it down, and then you'll be able to get this off. And then we're going to do the same with the other side. Then we're going to slip the silicone on, and then we'll reinstall it on the car. So with my heat gun, I'm just going to evenly heat it up. And just be careful you don't get burned. Alright, so
I'm just going to put a little tiny slit in it. Always cut away from your body.
okay. Just like that. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'll heat it up a little bit just to soften it. Sometimes you can get it to pop off, sometimes it doesn't want to pop off. Yeah, it's just way too brittle.
It's literally falling apart in my hands.
Okay, just like that. So then we're going to take our silicone, we're just going to press it on like that, and then with the other piece, you're going to press it on just like that.
So next what you're gonna wanna do is remove this heat shield so you can get the MST heat shield on there. So you're gonna take a T30 into this bolt here. And then the other bolt there is a 10 mil. Oh. And there you go. Next, what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your heat shield into your car. And it kind of is a funky angle. Took us a few tries to figure it out, but it's basically gonna go in like that. It's kind of contoured to this part of your engine bay, but you're gonna need to pull this guy off, because this is actually gonna go underneath that. Secure it in there. Make sure you've got this guy on all the way so that it'll line up properly. And once it's lined up, you put that back in. And that goes right on in. And there you go. So next you have this little metal bracket. This is gonna go right onto these two holes here, and it's gonna screw on to where that other heat shield was. For us, it's easier to just use an Allen wrench. We're gonna put it through there. And it'll just tighten on. And you're gonna take that nut that you had from earlier, and just screw it right back on. And then you're just gonna wanna tighten everything back down.
All right, so here's a look at what the heat shield looks like fully installed. So as you can see, we have the black hardware over there. We have this fastener over here. And then just so you see, this is the angle that everything is on, and that's the nut that secures it all in place.
So next you're gonna put your clamp onto this little silicone pipe here. What you're gonna do next is you're gonna put this silicone piece down at that pipe, but you're gonna wanna put this on here first so that it'll just slide on through this hole here. The bump out end is where your air filter is gonna go. So you're gonna wanna put this other end into your silicone pipe. There it goes. And make sure to orient your clamps in a way that you can easily get to them once they're installed, so that you can tighten it and loosen it if you need to. So the fitment was pretty tight here, trying to get that to slide in, so we're gonna loosen this nut just so we have a little bit more wiggle room here. There it goes. There it goes. Still pretty tight, but that made it possible. And then get this guy back on there. Then you can take your clamp all the way at the edge and tighten it down. And then you can go ahead and put the filter on. It's gonna be pretty tight still. Then just tighten this guy down. So now that you've got that installed, you can put your PCV pipe back on. We have this little hose clamp that MST includes that we're gonna put right there. So you can slide this guy into there. Obviously you're not gonna screw it back down since there's nowhere to screw it in. I'm gonna clip this guy. We would recommend don't tighten this clamp down until you have everything oriented, just so that way you don't have to worry about that part. And then don't forget about this little connection here that pops back in. And then just make sure everything looks good.
All right, so when we were installing this, sometimes you need to shorten the silicone hoses a little bit. You can see that there's a pretty good bend. Now there's still a decent amount of airflow. It's just a little bit more than what we would like. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put this up here and see where we think it would be a little bit more free flowing. So I think if we cut it right about here,
Okay.
See if that took out some of the pinch. Yeah, so that definitely opened it up a little bit more. There isn't a clamp that's supplied for the top, so I'm just gonna, for some extra security, just use a couple zip ties just to lock it in place. And make sure that everything's fully on. And then with that, that's not going anywhere. All right, once you've done that, we have to install this little extension for the crankcase ventilation system. Now on the MST intake, there's this little piece of aluminum that you push your new hose onto. The problem is sometimes when you just push it on, it'll push this piece of aluminum into your inlet. So just to show you what we're doing, we just took ours off. Basically, you want to just twist it on, and it's going to pop on just like that. And then just as we did up there, we're going to put a zip tie on just for added security, and then we'll press it back into the inlet. Okay, so it's going to look just like that. Then you can take this, just press it back into here. It's going to go in with ease, and then this will loop around, and you can just feed it right up here.
So next you're going to want to reinstall your mass airflow sensor. We're going to route it under here just to kind of keep it away from the heat a little bit more. So you'll connect these two pieces together, and then you'll get this piece and clip it right into place. And then we're just going to tuck this under here just to keep it from being all loosey-goosey and waggling around. And there you go.
All right, and then once you've tightened everything up, the intake is fully installed, so let's take a look.
So as you remember, there was all this plastic tubing, plastic air box up there. Really the last two things we need to do, we need to put that little strut brace back on, and then the engine cover. But as you can see, this is where BMW should have put it. I understand that the turbo's down there, and they were probably trying to avoid heat, but on cars like the S55, they still had it here anyway, and you have that cold air that's coming in right from here. So naturally, it's a much better location than having to route it all the way around the engine.
So when it comes to putting your engine cover back on, you do still have those two grommets that will hold it into place on this side, but you had this pipe before that had the two slots holding it on that side. For our purposes, we're not going to reinstall this, but you could just hook this back onto the grommet if you want to have this secure. Otherwise, it might rattle a little bit, but for me, I don't really care. So you're just going to want to line up your grommets. Wow. Completely different. Oh my God. Let's go.
So as you just heard and as you've seen, not only does this intake look really cool, but what do you think? How does it sound?
It sounds pretty great.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. As we knew it would, because MST intakes sound good on any car, whether it's a B58, an N55, an N20, S55, you just can't go wrong with an MST intake. And again, as we said before, what BMW did was such a waste. Putting it over here is super efficient. It shortens the piping. It makes it more direct flow to the turbo. You're gonna get a little bit more power, but you're gonna get a lot of sound, which is gonna sound amazing when you're driving the car. So once again, this is Blaise. I'm Bryan. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at KiesMotorsports.com. And if you are looking for parts like the MST intake for your F10, be sure to see the links in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.